Well, Spider-Girl has really demolished the last poll, so here we go. So continuing on our journey featuring all the Spider-Man related characters who deserve their own spin-off films, in this video we're going to be focusing on Spider-Girl, or more specifically Mayday Parker, because she does have the potential to have her own spin-off film, if not her very own trilogy. Now in the comics, the Spider-Girl storyline does take place during Peter Parker's retirement as Spider-Man. So in other words, it takes place during the very distant future, although not 2099 levels of the future. So to me it's one of these things where you could have Spider-Girl be her very own standalone, or you could link her up to the MCU if you really wanted. And although Peter Parker does exist in the Spider-Girl canon, considering that he is in his mid-50s, you really don't have to worry about the gap between this version of Peter Parker and Tom Holland's version. But to give you the brief backstory on Spider-Girl's origin is that during the final battle between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, Peter Parker lost one of his legs and in essence murdered the Green Goblin, thus retiring as Spider-Man. And while Peter Parker was in retirement, he eventually had a daughter alongside Mary Jane, who is of course Mayday Parker. And initially they didn't want Mayday Parker to develop spider-like abilities and didn't want her to become a superhero, mostly because they wanted Mayday Parker to have a normal life. But eventually she did discover her own spider-like abilities. And after discussing her abilities to her parents, they decided to let her in on a little secret, and that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Mayday, having a good spirit, wants to do something good with her powers and become a superhero. And despite how both Peter Parker and Mary Jane were a little reluctant about this at first, they decide to allow Mayday to become the new Spider-Girl and in some cases even help their own daughter. Now to me this is the perfect way to introduce Mayday Parker as Spider-Girl for the movies. She's a daughter to a legendary hero and in essence she gains some of his powers. And also because Mayday Parker is in her teen years, she also has to go through certain things that Peter Parker once did during his high school days. And to me, if they decide to incorporate the element of a traditional Spider-Man film, where they have Mayday Parker struggling with school life, as well as combine an element with Ant-Man with the passing of the torch gimmick, then I think this would make for a really awesome movie. And also Mayday Parker is the female version of Spider-Man, so you could always add in some new elements for her as well, such as what struggles would a normal teenage girl would go through during school days. Now admittedly, I haven't read too much revolving around Spider-Girl or Mayday Parker specifically, so I don't really know what specific storylines or villains they should adapt. However, I did thought of a few ideas that I've just brainstormed. For a villain for Spider-Girl to fight against, I thought of a variation of the Black Tarantula, as although he is primarily a Spider-Man villain, he is mostly associated with Spider-Girl. And in the comics, both Mayday Parker and Black Tarantula even shared some intimate moments, as well as having this love-hate relationship. So I can see the Black Tarantula being the perfect foil for Spider-Girl, considering that she's trying to do good, however there's some bad boy who she's fallen in love with. But at the end of the day, she discovers that he's a scumbag anyway, and so she decides to kick his ass. Or another villain that they could use is of course April Parker, aka Mayhem, who is actually a clone of Mayday Parker and also has the symbiote. And if it was up to me, I would alter Mayhem's origin story so that she was created by Oscorp. And the reason behind this is that Norman Osborn would suspect that if Peter Parker has a child, then they would inevitably gain spider abilities. But because the Green Goblin is dead, Normie Osborn, who is also a very prominent character in the Spider-Girl mythos, decides to continue on that research and decides to perfect it, thus creating Mayhem. But thinking about this, Mayhem would be better suited as a sequel villain, mainly because she is a sympathetic villain, and you would need to develop a huge chunk of time on Mayhem and her tragic backstory. And despite how April and May are somewhat related, April has always been so alienated mainly because she is a clone, and is often seen as Mayday's shadow. And plus Mayhem is easily the most interesting villain who is exclusively in the Spider-Girl's Rogues Gallery. So at the end of the day, I do think that Spider-Girl is a very worthy character in having her own spin-off film. She's a female superhero, she is also in the very near future, you have the potential of a very good passing of the torch storyline with Mayday Parker, she also has a very interesting rogues gallery, and to top it all off, she could hold her very own franchise. I mean, after all, Mayday doesn't have her fans for nothing, and plus this is a very fresh idea, so I don't see why not you just decide to do a Spider-Girl film. So would you be very interested in seeing a Spider-Girl film? comment below and share some thoughts. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video, please like and subscribe, take care and have a good one.